In the frozen city of Frodea, snow blows ever cold. A southern city sitting against the frozen cragged peaks. A city full of wonder, full of desire. A city where our story begins. As the snow blows gently against the frosted window, a young man lies slumbering in his bed, never dreaming. For what he has yet to realize is that the images he sees in his head are not dreams, but something much more. Another day here in Stone Paint University. A school built on ideas of endurance through all troubles, the pursuit of knowledge, and standing up in the face of adversity and fear. A school whose motto is "the will is everything." As the young man scatters to get his things together, we catch a glimpse of him through the frosted window.
He's, an average looking bit of a nerd. He's got a caramel blondish orange hair, shorter on the sides and on the top. Getting up and kind of hurrying about. He slips on some nice pair of khakis, a white button down with a blue tie, a green and black kind of checkered sweater vest as he throws his school coat over his shoulder and grabs his briefcase of a book bag.
But making your way through the hall, you eventually come out to a large open area with large circular tables, benches around them, and a long serve yourself all you can eat buffet table. Wave, you go and get yourself some food. Today they are serving rabbit stew with carrots and potatoes. They also just have potato stew.
Oh boy, my favorite. More stew. I'll give myself a nice healthy serving of some rabbit stew.
And as you sit down at a table alone, the last thing you wanted to see catches your eye. Walking into the cafeteria, a short, stout, fairly fat goblin, followed by three scrawny humans. You see, he has a face of vicious, sharp teeth, a wicked grin, and a malicious look in his eye. And you know this is Gilbert, the biggest bully at Stone Paint University. He kind of, looking around the room, spots you, and begins to make his way over.
Oh boy. Here we go again.
Sits down, and the three scrawny lads kind of cross their arms. He looks at you. So I need some help with my algebra homework. Thinking you were going to help me out. Yeah?
Yeah, I'll help.
Don't give me any wrong answers this time, okay?
I'll try my best.
Alright, I got 5 minutes, so make it quick. And he
5
pushes it to you. And this is even for you, a good 25 minutes of work.
I don't think I can get this done in 5 minutes.
You hear that, boys? He said he don't think he can get this done in 5 minutes. Three lads kind of standing above you, squaring you up. And you look directly past them towards the front of the cafeteria. Redskin Tiefling kind of stumbles into view.
Havoc is, to put it bluntly, what he's physically doing right now is he's sneaking into this cafeteria. But physically, Havoc is Redskin Tiefling. He looks like a devil, He has two horns coming out from the front of his forehead, though one has just been knocked off. He's got the cloak, he's got the fancy, big lapels, gold buttons, all that kind of stuff.
Hey, you listening? You paying attention to me?
Sorry,
Well, you shouldn't be. You should be paying attention to that, alright? Get to work!
Yeah, alright. Oh, boy. Wave's gonna try to get answers to things as quickly as possible.
Meanwhile, Havoc is just trying to get as much rabbit meat out of the stew as possible.
You see, standing the cafeteria lady who's just this really grumpy dwarf with a big bushy beard, and her eyebrows are covering her entire eyes. She just kind of looks at you.
You think she's
doesn't say anything.
Havoc just gives her a nod, yeah, and then walks down to grab bread.
Havoc, as you kind of turn to find a seat, you do see a crowd formed around what is usually Wave's table, and you recognize these punks as you don't know who they are. You never take the time to find out.
Havoc knows these are punks, though, so he's going to walk up puts an arm around Wave and is like, "Hey, buddy! So, who are these people?"
None of your business, so,
Havoc just grabs this man's face and continues looking at Wave.
I guess.
So who are these people?
Friends?
kind of with your head in his face, he pushes back and kind of stammers and stutters for a second, not really knowing what to say. Yeah. And he grabs the paper and himself. He was leaving.
No, I was just helping him out with some homework.
Oh, okay.
As the two of you sit here, you hear the distinct sound of cloven hooves hitting the tile floor. You both look up to see a energetic fawn standing before you.
You see a tall for a woman. She's only a little bit shorter than the two of you. And she's got tall, like, reindeer type antlers with, like, rounded tips at the end. Bright green eyes that are, like, lively and always looking around. Doe, like, fawn-colored skin with some light dotting and freckles on her face. She pops on over. She's kind of, like, skipping. Like, it's an unusual gait because she has hooves. Well, howdy, y'all! Good morning!
Morning?
Hi there.
Wave, I was coming over here to talk to you about my paper that I wrote for Professor Gondola. I was just heading over to give it to her if you wanted to come with me after you're finished eating.
Oh, sure. You finished it already?
Well, yeah, it was about my favorite subject. You know that I can write those things like that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'll help out.
And Havoc,
Yeah.
you remember our arrangement from earlier?
You see Havoc, like, kind of leans back. Yeah! I must have put it in a different coat, though. Yeah, later today, yeah.
Meet me outside the track at our usual place?
Yeah.
Juniper, as you leave Wave and Havoc behind, heading off to Professor Gondula's office. As you step in, you can see what is obviously the office of a history professor. She kind of looks at you with a smile, and you can see Professor Angela Gondula is a darker skinned woman, hair kind of pulled back. It's dark brown. She wears what can really be described as very Indiana Jones-esque.
I've got that paper that you were asking for, and I was just bringing it here so you could give me some critiques on it.
Right. Let's see it.
She slides the paper across the desk.
And Juniper, you do realize this paper's due at the end of the semester?
Well, yeah, but I figure it's better to get a head start on something like this, right?
Right. Just give me a moment. And
We'll call this a first draft.
Okay. She pensively begins reading through it as you sit there quietly for a moment and are just... The only sound you hear is the page turn. And after a few minutes, she only gets maybe like a third of the way through. And she just kind of sets it down. Juniper, I think
Yes.
it is lovely that you've taken the initiative to move forward on a project of this size so early on in the semester, but I think maybe we should find a different topic.
Well, that's just silly, Professor. This is the only thing I've ever wanted to study my whole life. Why would I choose something different?
And that's precisely why. I think it would be a disservice to your talent to have you write the same thing over and over. Juniper, I've seen this opening paragraph twice, different variations in your previous years here, and secondly, you are too biased. Let me read this. The Dark Ages were single-handedly the worst historical event to happen to mankind. The amount of suffering, betrayal, starvation, and death that occurred throughout the course of the millennium can only be described as evil incarnate. That is a very biased perspective considering other historical events that we know to be true. What about the flood?
Well, yeah, but that's just a bunch of water. That's not...
What about the unknown stories and evils from overseas that we've never heard of? Writing this as objective truth is simply far too biased.
I may have a personal connection to the Dark Ages because of my village's ancestry, but that doesn't mean that my pursuit of this is purely selfish.
You are just using sources that already exist. You're not contributing anything. And that is why I think for your own good, I'm going to tell you to write something different.
There's still so much to this.
And there's
I
still
don't know.
so much to everything else.
Well, I guess I'll start again. New research.
Take some time. Think about what you want to do. Find an artifact. Find an old document that's not known much about. Do something new and creative. I know you're capable of it.
I understand. Thank you for your critiques, Professor. Well, I'll see you in class then. Unless there was something else you wanted to...
I was only going to suggest that maybe you speak with my assistant if you need help. Archibald is very insightful in all things historical. I know you're the same year, but you could learn a lot from him.
Thank you, Professor. Backs out the door and goes, and then closes the door behind her. Archibald. Archibald doesn't know his ass from his face. They look about the same.
You look and see some poor freshman sitting on a bench outside the office. Just
She's been talking
wide-eyed,
directly
terrified.
at him, just not at all registering that he's there. Just
Yeah.
Archibald. Guess I'll head down to the track, maybe work off some of this emotion.
Take some time to really let loose. And you don't even notice Havoc kind of standing off in the side of the room towards the entrance. Havoc has been here for about 20 minutes, and Juniper's just not noticed. But eventually you do.
Hey there. That was a lot of jumping.
Yeah, I do that when I get frustrated.
Pockets.
It would actually help me if you had the things I asked for earlier.
He pulls out almost brownish, not quite white, kind of like an off tan kind of color. Well, here it is. This one's peanut butter flavored.
Ooh, I love peanut butter.
You're really worked up about something if you're...
Well, yeah, I'm a history major, and I really love the Dark Ages. I have a history with it, where my hometown is really involved in that kind of thing. Professor Gondula insists that I find a different topic. I don't know how I can even start to research anything else.
I don't really get this, but tell her no.
Well, as a student, I can't really say no. You know how it is with professors.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had something really, really groundbreaking, like a first-hand account or something, I don't know anybody who's alive, and I don't know any elves. So,
You probably don't want a first-hand account. I'm sure you could find a really cool artifact that's tied to the Dark Ages,
I don't think there was a site around here that I'd have to go excavate. I'd have to go out into the field.
The field. Is that like adventuring?
I suppose. You get real dirty and tired and hot, and you drink a lot of beer.
That sounds like adventuring. Okay.
Well, if I ever go on a dig, I might invite you along. See how you can affect your schooling. Maybe you can find something interesting.
Yeah! And you can find something valuable.
Yes. Academically valuable,
Monetary. He mumbles that part.
You eventually make your way back to your kind of small outpost here, where you and your friend work on making and dealing with your goods. And you can see a flicker of a candle kind of light. White-scaled dragonborn. She kind of wears a dark cloak and a few furs kind of cover her. You have the coin?
You see he reaches into his pocket. Right here.
Someone else wants to make a deal tonight.
Oh. Cool. Where? Who?
Didn't get a name. Just got a location. Seems like it's one of those preppier students who don't want to get in trouble with mom and dad's money. Don't ask questions. Don't bug them.
Mm-hmm. In and out kind of thing. All right.
Make your way back towards the university and the meeting spot. You don't know the building too well, but it seems to be on kind of the southern side. And since everything's a bit interconnected, and there are some like small internal gardens, you do find yourself kind of turned down this kind of alley where there's a bridge kind of connecting the second floor. But from the first floor, you can kind of walk under and you have like this little opening area. As you're kind of walking, you hear something crunch beneath your feet. And it doesn't sound like ice, and you look down and it looks to be glass. And then you look up and you see a big, gaping, broken window directly to your left.
Oh, hey! You got a hole in here.
You can see snow kind of blowing in. And as you look through, you notice that this opens up into the historical archives at the school. You can see all sorts of glass cases. You don't see anyone. The lights are off.
Havoc, he isn't climbing in, but he does have like his hand on the door seal leaned in, and he's like, "Hey, is anybody in here? You have a hole. Your window's gone."
As you kind of move forward, you kick something and you hear it rattle. Look down, you can see what looks to be a large, fairly large sack. Kind of, there's some snow covering it. Havoc picks it up and looks inside. It's filled with all sorts of weird trinkets. As you picked it up, there was also kind of another piece of fabric kind of right in that same area, and you pick it up and look at it, and it looks to be like this big, basically think of it as like a big sock with two slits in it.
Havoc's holding the sock in one hand and the bag, and then holding the bag open as well, just going, "What is going on?" Wait.
It's at this moment you hear, "Hey, you there!"
Huh?
As you see two frost guards, which are the local law enforcement, holding torches, and at their sides they have frostbrand blades. Blades that you know that when you're hit with one, literally brands you. And anyone with that brand is like a marked criminal in the area.
Nope! And just drops the bag in the mask.
You run forward and quickly realize that where you are is like this circle, and there's nowhere to go without, breaking another window and running through the university.
And he's going to shoot a hole through a window, jumping through.
Okay, you kind of dive through as you kind of cut yourself on the glass, leaving a trail of blood behind you as you start running. You can see the two Frostbrand guards climb through, and you look back for a second and see one of them pull out a sending stone. Breaking at the school, they're running down the North Hall.
Havoc's just screaming at this point, "It wasn't me! No!"
Wave and Juniper, in your dorm rooms kind of late at night, a little kind of intercom. It would be like a sending stone that's throughout like the entire building. And Havoc, you hear this too. "We are currently in a code red. Please stay in your rooms until the code has been dismissed. Lock all doors. Stay inside. We have an intruder."
Wave is locking his door and closing blinds. Kind of like crawling under his bed.
You eventually I could try to find Wave or Juniper. I don't know where they are right now. And you eventually run into another dead end. And you can hear them yell, "Stop running!
It wasn't me!
We'll hear it down at the station. Turn yourself in. We can clear this all out. We will brand you here and now. If you don't, calm down." And you can see one's walking forward and they have handcuffs and are reaching out. The other one has a sword kind of held out and a torch in the other hand. You cleave through the glass window, scatters outward into the snow.
Havoc will cast Featherfall.
You see they kind of run, and as you're kind of following gently, you can see they just kind of stand there looking out the window.
As he's going off in the distance, I think the only thing they hear is just a very, "It wasn't me!"
For those of you in the university halls, last night was definitely an interesting one. Wave, you hid under your bed until the later hours of the night when the code was dismissed.
Phew.
And as morning came, your days progressed. as they normally did. Wave, you went to the library, went to the cafeteria, got bullied, your face thrown into a bowl of clam chowder, and when you were expecting Havoc to show up and save the day, maybe you didn't even really want him to, but you were kind of expecting it, you didn't. And Juniper, as you went throughout your day, made your way down to the track, expecting to see Havoc there. He wasn't. Wave and Juniper, later in the day, around 5 o'clock, you both find yourselves in the library. By circumstance, both happen to be there. And as you catch each other's gaze, you both have the same question on your mind.
I think we should say it at the same time.
I'm a
Where's
bit
Havoc?
confused.
Have you seen him?
No, it's been a little quieter without him around, but I was just thinking maybe you saw him.
I haven't seen hide nor tail of him.
Well, I guess it's not too weird, but I feel like lately I've always catched him around that lunchtime.
Yeah, he's normally in the cafeteria. He never misses a meal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I know he mentioned offhand before that he does work with the Frozen Ire after school. I guess I was thinking of going down there to see if maybe they would know. We can meet out front after evening classes.
Sounds good to me.
Juniper would have one final class of the day.
Okay.
And it would be with Professor Gondula. As students begin to pile in, where does Juniper sit? Is she a front of the class student?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's like front and center.
You sit front and center, and you were expecting Professor Gondula's second hand, her pretty much the student she's
Archibald.
mentoring, Archibald Evermore, to be sitting in the seat kind of right 2 seats from you, because you never sit right next to each other, but you're both kind of in the front. Isn't
We're
there
mortal
today?
enemies.
Yeah.
She notices, but kind of like.
Kind of just take note of this, and it's kind of like a pride thing that kind of washes over. Like, finally, I can get like a moment in the spotlight. And as Professor Gondula kind of steps up to the chalkboard and she writes out the word Frodea, which is the name of the city you're in. Frodea, a local place that you all have grown to know, and some of you love, some of you hate, over the past several years here at Stone Paint University. Does anyone know where our university and the city gets their name from?
Juniper raises her hand. Frotolangelo Stone Painter.
Precisely. One of the best artists. Many see her as the greatest. Living centuries ago, she has left a mark on the world like no other. Many artifacts and paintings and statues and buildings erected by her design, her creative mind. So much rich history, all here, nestled within the city where she died centuries ago. But this city was not always called Frodea. It used to go by the name of Cragdock. It was when her grave was discovered. Since then, many of her designs, many works have been relocated here. I'm bringing this to your attention because you are all scholars, you are all students in pursuit of the preservation of history. And last night, what many would call insignificant relic, with the mark of Frotolangelo, went missing. I simply wanted to bring to your attention this crime and this insult on the history we seek to preserve, and ask that anyone with any information or knowledge come to me and to the authorities to honor her name, a woman who, without her, the motto in which we have, which inspires us all, would not have come into existence. Juniper, you always seem to like to say it.
Voluntas est omnia.
And everyone says out loud, the will is everything. Without will, what are we? And without the image of the person who inspires us for that will, what are we as a university? We'll continue with today's lesson.
I think after class, Juniper would immediately approach her and be, Professor, so that was that ruckus last night?
It was. 14 artifacts were stolen, 13 were recovered. but one remains missing still.
Do you know what's going on with little Archie over there? What's going on with him today?
He gave
She's
me
like
a letter.
barely concealing her
Oh,
like pleasure at him being gone.
yeah.
She's
Um,
like,
I received a letter last night saying that he had come down with a cold. He's a bit feverish today, so he's staying in.
they were kept in the museum, correct?
You might have seen
So-
it before. It was a smaller artifact we kept. It's actually one of the artifacts we had on our blacklist. You would know what the blacklist is. It's essentially like the school decides this is a dead end. We can't learn more about this.
Mm-hmm.
And so no
So it's
more
archived.
funding and resources will go into it. Yeah.
This seems kind of like an interesting avenue of research.
It would be if it were to be.
Is this an ongoing investigation?
It is with the authorities, but I'm not telling you to. But I think it would be quite compelling for you as a historian for your record to maybe enact the famous Title I Adventurer's Code. Title I is essentially what allow adventurers to be adventurers. And it was formed, you would know this, because the Dark Ages is what formed Title I, where a group of 4 adventurers went forth destroying evil and darkness and came back and were praised as heroes. And to preserve that, to preserve people who seek to do good, the Adventurers Code was created.
Thank you so much.
The library does have like local news information and stuff on a board. Basically has a rough sketch of Havoc as well as key descriptions of him, in which that is definitely Havoc.
Well, that's very strange. 2 people who never miss are now missing, and so
Someone
is
else?
an artifact. Yeah, the assistant for Professor Gondola's class is missing today, and he's never missed a day. I know, because I've never missed a day.
Are you saying he might be on the list of perpetrators?
He's kind of a goody two-shoes. I don't know if he has the guts in him to take something like this, but he knows. He knows where it is.
Make your way down the halls, kind of moving towards the archives.
Wow.
And you do look through, and you actually see the professor kind of in the back. She has a bunch of stuff laid out on a table and is like looking at it, carefully inspecting.
Do you need help cleaning up in here?
I wouldn't mind.
Get that.
Something I will actually say, Wave, you noted as you got here. The lock for the door here, untouched. So no forced entry. The fact that it was still working when she came over was like a thing that you immediately kind of deduced. But as you kind of get to the window where stuff was broken to kind of clean up the glass there's no glass
On the inside.
on the
There's-
inside.
Oh,
So it looks like it's been blown out.
interesting. Like somebody broke it from the inside to make it seem like they were being broken into.
But didn't consider.
The direction of the glass.
Room normally locked off, or can any student really gain entry to this room?
I've got one guess.
There's only 2 keys that I keep. Then there's the janitor. There's me, the janitor, and then Archibald. You eventually find your way to where their dorm room is. You see the little metal plate, Robert Spellbrink and Archibald Evermore, kind of on the doorframe. You knock. There's nothing. Door opens, and you can see a well put together room. The left side is filled with notes on arcane studies and research, while the right side is decorated with maps, ancient text, historical books, and lots of information and diagrams dating back to very old times.
Juniper's immediately going to what she believes is Archibald's side with the
I'll go to
history.
Roberts.
Kind of going through stuff, it seems like Archibald was doing research into the Valor, and the rule of Asgrand, the fallen angel who for a long time pretty much ruled over all of Vanner. His research seems to have gotten into a lot more radical subjects, delving into pro-Valar sources that kind of paint Asgrand and a lot of the fallen angels into a very positive light. Looks to be a manifesto of an extremist group known as Sightings of the Forever King.
Well, that's disturbing.
You see immediately what looks to be a large empty case made for an especially long spear sits on the bed open. What looks to be like notes, like research journal, that would also have been tucked away under the case.
Okay. And the case is obviously like empty, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I'll scrounge up his notes and kind of like sift through them.
As you kind of look through, you start to paint a picture as to what this thing is based on Robert's findings, if they are true. It seems that Mage Splinter is an ancient arcane weapon designed to help combat mages and destroy their spells. According to Spellbring's research, he believes that it was crafted especially for the evil knight known as Mordred, meaning that the spear dates back to the foundations of when magic entered the world. The story goes that Mordred released the secrets of magic, bore down the kingdom of Camelot, and released magic to all. Some see him as a liberator, some see him as wicked.
If Archibald and Robert are taking this manifesto a bit too much to heart, I can't imagine that they're working alone, especially if they were able to steal such a scepter. I find it weird that they were able to pull off such a stunt in a university where we're
Do you
filled
think-
with like an excellent staff and guard. It just feels weird that they'd be able to get in there, and it be entirely unknown to the faculty.
Well, if Archibald used his key, which I believe he did,
Well, I guess this is a start. At least we have some kind of motive and doctrine
suspects.
to explain their actions.
As you guys kind of step out into the hall, you look and see a blonde-haired girl kind of leaned up, kind of looking at you as if she was kind of waiting for you guys to come out.
Hello. We were just in there.
So you broke in.
No. No, look.
You're looking for them?
Yes. Do you know where they are?
I've seen them going out in Duxborough.
She turns back to Wave and goes, "So sorry, buddy, we gotta go there."
Or
It's-
not observatory, sorry.
Oh.
This was entertaining to watch. As Wave is still picking stuff up.
Juniper's holding her hand out for a handshake, and Amelia's just like, "This was fun," and she's like,
She shakes your hand. You all make your way towards the observatory then?
"Mhm."
You step in, and you see kind of snow blown out along the ground. And as you push it aside, you would expect there to be a little bit more that you would have to push out of the way. You do look and see there are footprints that kind of track into the room a bit, 2 sets. And then to the right, there's a spiral staircase that wraps up.
Do they look recent enough where like they might be in this building now?
You don't see any return tracks.
Ooh, righty. Should we go get the authorities?
We are the authorities.
Oh.
And she
Okay.
grins and continues walking up the stairs.
As you kind of continue up the stairs in Juniper, you kind of look up and over as you're getting up to the edge of the spiral staircase. You can see 2 individuals sitting on 2 chairs, kind of sitting across from each other.
You should take Archie, and I'll take Robert.
You're not implying we should go up there and fight them right now, are you?
Well,
I mean, I was, yes.
He has a spear that nullifies magic. I can only do magic. My thought was I would use Silent Image on the window to craft an image of a bird slamming into a window, and then using the cantrip Prestidigitation to make like the loud thump sound pretty uptight about whatever they're doing. So my thought process is, if something slams into the window, even if it's just a bird, that could be enough to like surprise them.
I think our
So if you-
priorities are getting the staff, and then if we can,
Yes.
the sphere.
You create the sound of this bird hitting the window. It echoes throughout the room. They kind of look, and at that same time, Juniper, you round the edge. He has it, holding it
Mhm.
technically.
And I
As
think
you grab it and rush away, you get back there as they kind of yell out, "Hi!" And I'd like you guys to roll for initiative.
It's mostly academic hatred, so she
Okay.
doesn't actually want him to die. So they
Okay.
are non-lethal.
Damn, he's unconscious. Head hits the ground,
So I'm just gonna grab the spear.
and he is going to cast Scorching Ray. Yeah, he's gonna fire because Juniper, you're the main threat. He's gonna fire 2 at you and then 1 at Wave. Crit.
Silvery barbs.
Silvery barbs.
Yes.
Okay. Fires the 2 and then sees that you cast a spell and like forces his hand off to the side. You really reels up for this one. 8 fire damage.
Whew. Juniper, are we getting out of here?
Yeah, we can go. Yeah. All right. Bye now.
Yeah, I am going to action dash and then just use my movement to just get 60 feet away.
As you quickly run down the staircase and you get towards the door, you immediately stand there, Juniper like right behind you. And you kind of come to a standstill as you look and see, blocking the door, a taller figure with what looks to be a set of like 2 wings kind of coming off from her shoulders. You can't tell necessarily if they're like ceremonial, like something that she's wearing, because all the rest of her garb looks to be like ancient. There's like this old armor, this mask that seems to have war paint kind of on it, and at her side, kind of stepping into the room, 2 cloaked figures. Wave, you kind of stand there, and Juniper, you round the corner and kind of bump into him and see this.
Shit. Is there a window?
That is where we're gonna call the end of today's session.
Oh shit.